If your OT private pay practice is struggling, then you may have an expert problem, right? If your OT private pay practice isn't attracting those clients who are willing to pay out of pocket, then you may also have an expert problem. And if your OT private pay practice is having clients who drop off from your schedule before, they are completing their plan of care, then you may have an expert problem. And if you are having these types of struggles, then it is going to be hard for you to keep your doors open, retain your staff, and ultimately have that important ability to impact your clients' lives. And when I say you have an expert problem, what I mean is that you likely have a perception problem of being an expert. Of course, look, you are an OT expert in your practice area, but likely if you are struggling in these parts with your business, there just isn't enough being done to really project this expertise that you have to your clients. And luckily, there are a few simple ways to fix this. If you are new here, my name is Doug Vestal, and I help OTs just like you open and grow thriving private pay practices. OT school doesn't teach business skills, and I'm here to fix that. My wife and I, we founded together a very successful private pay practice in New York City, and I make these videos so that you can achieve success faster based on all of our experiences. The world needs more OT entrepreneurs just like you. If your practice is struggling to grow, one of the first things I would look at is what I call the expert strategy, right? And here's the difficulty. In much of my coaching with OTs, many of them really recoil at the idea of being called an expert. Even thinking about, like quote unquote expert can bring up really strong feelings of being an imposter, of not belonging. And I talk about imposter feeling a lot in my online course, Private Pay MBA, because it can really be such a roadblock to attracting the clients that you can help. But here's the thing. You are an expert. You can help people, right? You have helped people. So you should definitely embody, feeling like an expert in your area. Being an expert doesn't mean that you have to know everything, right? Which is kind of what we often think. Being an expert just means that you can be someone who knows something very specific, very bespoke, and focused that others don't know. And I bet that describes some of your abilities, right? And know this, your clients, they are looking up to you. You have to remember this. In their eyes, they want to see someone who is an expert. Your client is looking for guidance. Your client wants your recommendations. They are looking for someone who knows more than them. They really are waiting for you to step into embodying your expertise, right? As you establish your expertise in your community, you will find that you attract more clients who are willing to pay your rates, refer to you, and sing your praises. In addition, you will attract clients rather than chasing clients because they will have already decided that they want to work with you. We have to remember something really important, right? There isn't any client in the world who raises their hand thinking to themselves, I have this problem. Let me go see an amateur for my problem, right? That doesn't happen. All clients want to see the expert. So operating from this stance is one of the best things that you can do for your practice. And there are 3 areas that I would recommend that you start, focusing on. The first would be focusing on your marketing content for your practice, right? This is likely how most new clients will come across you first, right? This is your website, it's your blog posts, it's the videos that you post, it's the workshops that you give, anything that falls under that marketing umbrella, right? And here is the key idea. To establish yourself as the expert, don't talk about yourself and qualifications. Yes, I know that kind of sounds weird, right? You're probably saying to yourself, well, how am I supposed to be seen as an expert if I don't tell them about my degree, right? About the certification that I have or whatever it is. The way you do this is you talk to your potential clients about their problem. You don't talk about yourself. The quickest way to be seen as an expert in your OT specialty is to show your clients you know what they're going through, right? Use the language they use to describe their problem and offer valuable information for how they can get better. An expert isn't about the letters after your name, right? An expert is about making your client, or your potential client feel heard and understood. You want a potential client who says to themselves, wow, she really understands what I'm dealing with, right? Instead of something like, well, she has a degree on the wall. I guess she knows what she's doing, right? This is a big difference. Focusing on education in your marketing is one of the best ways you can use to build up your expertise in your own community. The second way to be seen as an expert in your OT services is how you recommend the plan of care to your clients. One of the biggest problems that I see in the OTs that I work with is what they do immediately after an evaluation with a new client. All right. The new client has finally come in for an evaluation, right? They've finally taken a courageous step to spend money, to spend their time seeking a solution, right? They've taken a risk and have finally decided to do something about their problem. And the client is looking for you as the OT to provide some certainty. But often what happens is the OT gets very nervous to suggest an entire plan of care. And instead of recommending, perhaps 6 sessions to start, they say subtle things like, you know what, let's just start with a couple of sessions. We'll get you booked for the next week, and then let's see what happens and how you progress. Now, this happens for a variety of reasons, right? Sometimes it could be feelings of imposter coming up, right? Sometimes the OT is subconsciously trying not to suggest the needed amount of sessions due to concerns about money and the client. This happens a lot in private pay. But you have to remember that the client really does want a solid recommendation, right? The client wants your clinical opinion. That is why they're there after all, right? That's why they sought you out. And so you can unconsciously sabotage your efforts of being seen by an expert by not being sure, by not being certain in your recommendation of a plan of care with authority. If you don't do this, your client will come away confused, right? Maybe they don't know what to think, but most likely what they're going to think to themselves is, well, you know what? I guess they can't really help me because otherwise they would have more recommendations for me. So step into your clinical reasoning and don't shy away from expressing an entire plan of care that you think is clinically reasonable. Remember, your client after an evaluation is looking for that expert opinion. So provide it and don't artificially hold yourself back. The third way to establish yourself as an expert in your community is how you are following up with your clients. When you follow up with your client between sessions, you are really establishing, not only that you care and that you're invested in their progress, but that you have some faith in the work you're asking them to do, that you have confidence, right, in what you are telling them to do between sessions. And that if your client isn't making progress, that you have alternative recommendations for them. You have a wealth of knowledge that you can provide them. And this gives them both an unconscious and subconscious and unconscious clues, right? That you are that wealth of information. And it constantly reinforces to them that you are the OT that they want on their side. And if you want to avoid some of the biggest mistakes we made in private pay, then take a look at this video right here.